In this video, we're going to go over some of the fundamental concepts of working in Substance Painter. Be aware though that one of the things I'm not going to cover is UI and interface. There are plenty of other videos out there that do explain it. The purpose of this video is to kind of go over workflow and understand how to use Substance Painter. So we are going to just be working with a sample object rather than importing our own in. We're not going to worry about that. So we're going to go to File, Open Sample, and the one that we're going to choose is the Preview Sphere. So we're going to select Preview Sphere and open it. It does start off with some materials already put on it, but we're not, we want to kind of start with our own. So the very first thing I'm going to do is go underneath layers. I'm going to select all of them and I'm going to hit delete because we don't want any of their stuff. We want to try our own stuff. Be aware that, we can see that it kind of still looks like it has some stuff going on. If we go underneath texture set settings, we can see that we do have some baked maps. This is fine. We don't need to really delete them, but if you're just wondering why it might have like some kind of shading on it, it's because of these baked maps. We're not going to learn about baked maps this week or in this video. Just be aware that it exists. Don't worry about it for now. So let's go to layers and we're going to start with just a very simple fill layer. You're going to get very used to using fill layers. You're going to and should be using fill layers more than you use your paint layers. So let's just add a fill and let's talk about some of the settings we have down under the properties for that. So we have a lot of different material types, texture types that we can play with, and most of these we're not going to really need. In fact, if I go under texture set settings, I'm probably, most of the time you don't have to do this because we're going to just be starting with a regular PBR material. But if you go under texture set, if you do want to get rid of some of these so you don't get too confused, we can get rid of these two right here and just leave base color, height, roughness, metallic, normal. Those are going to be your usual PBR materials. You might need to add at some point like an emissive map, or maybe if you want glowing stuff, or an opacity map. Not this week, but be aware that we can change, what is on our material through our texture set settings. So let's take those off. And we're just left with these. For this particular one though, we don't need a height map, so I'm going to remove that. Just from this fill layer, we're not taking it off the whole object. We're just saying this specific fill layer, we're not going to change the height. We're also not going to change the normal, so that we're left with base color, roughness, and metallic. And let's go ahead and start looking at how adjusting these change how this looks. So base color is pretty straightforward. Other places this might also be called albedo. Maybe if you see something really old, it might be called a diffuse map as well. This is just the color, like with a fill, it is a flat color. So we can choose, whatever color we want. For this particular lecture though, let's kind of go with a warm kind of orange color. We'll work with that. So the next map we're going to talk about is roughness. And this is a very important map, and a lot of times it doesn't quite get the attention that it needs, but it's a very important one to make your stuff look realistic. Where if you have a white roughness map, that means that it is not shiny at all. It has a very matte kind of surface. If we have a full black roughness map, it is super shiny, like it looks like a polished plastic. It can look like kind of like a chrome or a mirror when we start adding metallic to it. So, this is a very important one to make adjustments to really push the realism, because things don't usually look super shiny. Like even something super shiny might have like a little bit of scratches on that roughness, but it wouldn't necessarily be affecting the color. So let's just kind of we'll make it super shiny for now, because I want to show you what happens when we adjust the next one, which is our metallic. So in general, when you are working with a metallic map, you should either have it be fully black, which means no metal, or you should have it be fully metal, which means it is 100% metal. And you can see if we have a fully metal map with a, no roughness, completely shiny, we do get kind of like a chrome sort of look. This is one of the mistakes a lot of people make with metallic maps is they'll kind of choose like an in-between, like, I'm going to have it be kind of metal. In general, metallic maps should either be all or nothing because things are either metal or they're not metal. If you're not quite getting the look that you want, most likely the change needs to be in the roughness map or maybe your base color, not making it half. So like if we make it fully metal, but we don't want it quite so shiny, it's not that we should take down our metal, we should just make it a little bit more rough. And we can see that we're starting to get something that looks a little bit more, maybe a little bit more frosted sort of look. So things that are metal, obviously they are metal objects. So, chrome, copper, brass, any like metal. Things that are technically not metal, and it's kind of a weird concept to think about, is rusted metal. The part that is rusty should not be metallic because it's been oxidized, so it no longer works as a metallic object. Usually, all of the metallic stuff is metal. The only exception of something that might have a metallic map on it, but that's not normally metallic, is things that have an enamel type surface. So those are things like bugs, like a bug shell might actually have a metallic map on it. Think of like Christmas ornaments, think of maybe like nail polish. And the real key to knowing if it should be metal or not when you're studying an object is what color is the reflection. So if we look at our metal reflection, like what's reflecting off of it, we can see that metal actually reflects a color. If we take the metal off of it, and like actually just make it a little bit more shiny, we can see that the specular highlight on that is white. So that's kind of the big difference between should it have a metal map or not metal map? What is the specular color reflection? The majority of stuff that exists in the world have a white reflection. Things that have a color reflection need a metal map. So that's why, it's usually metal, but it can also include like enamel or bug shells and stuff like that. So we have our nice simple fill. Let's kind of move in and talk about making this look a little bit more realistic. Because, by default, this is very plain. Like it's, let's say that we are, what do we want to make? We'll keep it this orangey color, but let's say we want to kind of grunge it up because normally something like this doesn't exist in the real world. Like it's super clean. It looks CG fake because it doesn't really exist like this. So a lot of times what you're going to want to work with are masks. We wouldn't want to come in here. Don't actually do this on your thing, but I'm going to show you what we don't want to do. Like, let's say we want to paint up, do some dirt. The thing we do not want to do, and don't worry about, trying to follow along and what exactly I'm doing. We don't want to come into here and get, a paint layer and choose like a dark color, like a brown, and start painting on our dirt. Like this is not the method that we do. What we do instead is we just do more fill layers and we do masking on them. The reason why is because it's very easy to go back and make adjustments. So for instance, if I realized, oh, this paint layer, I made a mistake. That's not the right color of dirt. It actually needs to be more green. Like we can't go in and change it. Like it is what it is after you paint it. Like you're kind of stuck with what you have. You would have to delete it out and repaint it again. But let's say instead we do a fill layer. So this is the part to actually follow along with. Let's add a fill layer. We're going to make it look like a brown kind of dirt. So we're going to choose like a brown. Dirt, we don't actually, yeah, let's actually keep on normal map this time. Rough dirt is not very shiny. It's going to be kind of like a grungy dirt. It's not metallic. And we'll just keep normal map like that. We'll just keep it for that for now. Actually, we're going to have to add height too. Sorry about that. Let's add height. We're going to bump it up just a little bit. So it doesn't, you know, no real change, but where the change comes in then is we're going to then right click on that fill layer and add a black mask. Black on the mask means it's not visible. So it doesn't look like anything's going on, but what we want to then do to that black mask is right click, and we're going to add a fill. What we're going to put in this fill right here, we're going to click on this grayscale. And in here, we are going to then search for grunge. The nice thing is these are all procedural, so that they scale, they can be altered, they can be adjusted. But, you know, don't worry too much on the grunge you pick. Try to find something that's a little bit dirty. There's a lot, and depending on your version, you know, in future semesters, there might be a slight variation in what kind of grunges they have. So I don't want you to spend too much time trying to find the exact grunge. Let's just go with concrete dusty for now and see how, no, sorry, I changed my mind. Grunge concrete, let's try this one. And what this will do is it will, you know, just like Photoshop, it masks that now onto that surface. And, you know, this is a lot easier than trying to hand paint this. We can even make adjustments to this. Like we can usually balance these out, like, oh, it needs to be dirtier, it needs to be cleaner. We can, you know, up that contrast to adjust how this looks. We can even usually invert these, like if we're not quite getting the look we want. Like maybe we actually want it to look closer to this. I actually like how that looks. It looks a little bit more, you know, dirty. If you're having a hard time seeing what any of these are doing, we can also go up here underneath the material. And if you scroll down, we can look at that mask. So like if you wanted to just adjust what that mask looks like, you can visualize it there. And then we can just switch back up to material to see it on the end. So, hey, that's already looking pretty good. It looks a lot more grungy, a lot more dirtier. I don't like the way it's going on here. I am going to go underneath fill UV transformations and rotate it. And rotate this around to 90 degrees. I think it looks a little bit better. The one thing with Painter that I do suggest that you do is you learn it the best through experimentation. I can't possibly go through every single possible thing in this video. You're going to learn by just trying out things. So be aware of that the purpose of this video is more of to kind of get you started and to kind of show you what things do. Not that this is the end all be all. We can even stack these. So like, let's say we have that kind of going, but we want to add, we can add a another fill layer to this. We can, you know, choose a different grunge effect. Like, let's say maybe this one. And it works just like Photoshop, where we can change the blending mode of this. So rather than normal, we can do like a multiply. Oops, I think I did it in the wrong order. Let's do this one as a multiply. Multiply. Normal. Maybe a lighten. I think I'm going in the wrong way. I think that's lighten. There we go. Sorry. So, you know, masks are opposite. Sometimes I forget that. So we can multiply different grunges together to add that effect. What I would say, you know, you can also change, you know, the opacity of that, of either of these, and you have a lot of control over that. Something else I'd recommend too, rather than, you know, I'm gonna actually take that off for a second. You don't want to just do one. It does have a very uniform look to it because it's just that one color. So what you can also do then is you could start stacking these. So I'm going to actually just duplicate this layer. I'm going to select that base color and I'm going to alter it just a bit. So maybe I want it to have a darker, like a slightly darker, maybe slightly greener, also grunge going on. Maybe I want the height to go a different way. So we can see that it's pushing it inwards this way. This is outwards, this one's inwards. But you know, I don't want to keep that same concrete grunge because it's just stacking on top of it. Maybe I can just mess with the seed and that'll, you know, is enough variation. But you know, I can always change this out to its own thing too. Let's do like the cloudy, or just this dust. And now we're getting kind of like a pitted sort of look to it. Maybe I want to change that color a little. Let's see. So we can really see what it's doing. Yeah, let's go with kind of like this gross sort of look to it. And we can see that we're starting to stack how things go. Actually, you know what? Roughness, metallic. Let's mess with this a bit because we can make this part shiny since it's kind of more of like a, but you can also change the look too by swapping these. So it looks like that. We swap them. It does get a slightly different look. So there's so many ways we can customize this. I think that fill needs a little bit more contrast. Let's mess with that a little. Push it through some more. Maybe the invert will look better. Ooh, that's a little bit high. Let's drop it down. But you can see, you can see how we're getting this change, and it's all procedural. So the nice thing is, let's say you've made this material and you spent all this time on it, and your art director comes to you and says, hey, that's the wrong color metal. And you know what? We don't want it to be metal anymore. We want it to actually look more plasticky. So you go, oh no, you know, what am I going to do? I need to, you know, first make it not metal. And I need to change it to a different color because they suddenly want it to be blue. So now we have a blue. Maybe it needs to be not near, you know, it needs to be a little bit shinier. So we're going to drop that down. Because of that, we do want to make some changes to this one too, so that matches a bit better. Maybe instead of green, it needs to be purple. Like it needs to have like a purple kind of eat away at it because now it's supposed to show that it has like poison sprayed on it. And you know what? It needs to go up, not down, because it's going to be kind of almost like an infection or something. So that's kind of where we can get some of the real strengths of this program, is by altering things after the fact and tweaking them after the fact. So this was a real quick video about just using the fill layer. You know, try to get something close to this too. Like let's alter the color and see what that looks like. We're just starting to scratch the surface. I do, in the next video, want to talk about using some of these materials over here.